A small percentage of Americans, now moving on to this issue of abortion, that at least for the White House would like to believe that it will define the election going forward. A small percentage of Americans believe in totally outlawing abortion, full stop, no exceptions. A small percentage of Americans believe in abortion on demand up until the time of birth. Since you are watching us tonight, you probably don't fall into either of those camps. 7 in 10 Americans, 70%, say the decision to have an abortion should be left up to the pregnant person and her doctor. We didn't write the poll question of pregnant person, but we just read it. But when asked, do you think abortion should be legal after the first 6 weeks, fetal heartbeat, 44% yes. 14 weeks after first trimester, 34% yes. After 24 weeks, when a fetus can survive on its own, only 22% yes. Polls like that demand nuanced policy. They demand our politicians compromise. America's current political system punishes both of those. Whether you love Roe or hate Roe, the decision it provided, that decision, the Supreme Court precedent, provided a relatively moderate window for the abortion debate to take place in. That window is likely gone, so now both sides have no choice but to take the most extreme positions. Laura Fink, Democratic strategist with Rebel Communications. Laura, good to see you. Thank you. I'm thinking about this as we go into Wednesday's vote in the Senate for abortion on demand without restrictions. It's going to fail. Would it not be a lot better for Democrats to make Republicans vote against something that isn't particularly polling at like 22 or 23%?
Well, I don't know that I would characterize it as abortion on demand. I think it creates a national protection for abortion, which is what we saw the Supreme Court remove.
Laura, it actually says that there can be no restrictions on abortion. So that's abortion on demand.
It says abortion on demand?
No, it says there can't be restrictions of any type. That's what it says.
On the defense of Roe. So I would dispute that characterization. Okay. I maintain that. But to get to your question, do I think it's smart? I do think it's smart to try to protect the lives of women in all states in this country, and not just in those that might codify protections and codify Roe, or essentially Roe, in their states. 26 states have trigger laws. We know that abortion is going to be outlawed in those things.
Right, but let's just talk about this from a political standpoint, right? You make Republicans vote against, you make Joe Manchin vote against abortion without restrictions. Roe, by the way, allows restrictions. This goes farther, but I digress. You make Republicans vote against abortion without restrictions. That's pretty easy for Republicans to vote against. You make Republicans vote against abortion at 12 weeks or up to 12 weeks, it gets more complicated. Not just me, Joe Scarborough on MSNBC. Take a listen.
The question is, going back to Schumer, why don't you get a bipartisan vote? This is what Democrats don't understand. So you can't get 100% of what you want. You can't get 80% of what you want. Maybe get 60% of what you want, so you can say we have a bipartisan bill.
Thoughts?
My thoughts are that Susan Collins, who claims to be for the right to choose and yet supported Brett Kavanaugh, is going to be in a sticky place. Lisa Murkowski, same thing, voting for Brett Kavanaugh, voting for Gorsuch, voting for justices that just voted to take away a constitutional right for the first time in modern history. This is something that I do think that Republicans need their feet to the fire on, and I think that is what Democrats are doing in the lead up to the election. So from a political perspective, absolutely, they should have to show their colors and show what they truly support. And I will say this: it doesn't have a chance of passing, which is unfortunate, because even with those votes that I mentioned, the Republicans would oppose this bill. I think it's so critical to do everything possible to try to protect the health and safety of women,
okay,
which is really what Roe is about.
Right. So then why not go for 12 weeks or 16 weeks? At least try to get a win, if not the whole thing.
I don't think you can codify that at the federal level, because here's the tricky thing. Here's the tricky thing. Well, I'll just finish. Here's the tricky thing. The challenge is that this is really a decision between a woman and her doctor. This is a challenge that has to do with the health of the mother. These are all things that are unilaterally removed from the Republican legislation. And you think that that should be negotiated, in Congress. I don't know that that's true. I think ultimately this is something that we have to let doctors and mothers decide.
Oh boy, I hope Congress gets to negotiate very few things, because they seem to be terrible at just about everything that they do. That said, I'm interested in your thought on the optics right now of the protest movement on this. Protests, obviously, at justices' homes over the weekend, some more today at the justices' homes. Does that really have the look of what Democrats think is going to motivate suburban moms and suburban women come November?
I think awareness is what's going to motivate suburban moms and suburban women, and understanding that the rights to contraception, the rights to gay marriage, and so many other things are tied to this decision. And so I think you're going to see protests all over this country in the weeks to come, weekend after weekend. As we saw after Donald Trump's election in 2016, you're going to see that energy. And I think that sharpens the point and shows just how critical this next election is going to be.
Understandable answer to a question, just not the question I asked. Protests in front of justices' homes. Good idea or not?
You asked me about protests, so
no,
I'm
I asked you about protests in front of justices' homes.
Well, they're having vigils in front of justices' homes, and I think that it's challenging to decide where the line is with respect to protest. I think for me, that's objecting to any sort of threats or any sort of violence. And I think the Montgomery County Police Department registered no threats, no acts of violence, and no arrests. And so all of those things absolutely fall under Americans' right to protest. And I think what they are standing up for is women's lives. And so the stakes are really high.
Yeah, the stakes are very high, and you make a great point. On the other side, Tate Reeves, who was on CNN, the governor of Mississippi, couldn't say, no, we're not going after Plan B, or no, we're not going after IUDs. I can't believe I said that on television or cable, but kind of shocking that Republicans on the other side can't kind of admit these basic things that are universally polling pretty popular in America. But
is it shocking, Leland? They've been planning this for some time, and it's been all of this has been building to this point.
It's no more shocking than you can't say that, 20 weeks or 24 weeks is something that the Senate should talk about. As we said, this pushes both sides. But
it's medical, though, so why is that not shocking?
Because it pushes both sides to the extremes. It's obvious that nuance and nuanced policy is not
But I don't think Congress should be legislating medical decisions, and I think that's the point.
Well, that may be your point. It's obviously, there's Republicans who feel that they should legislate every possible decision. Wanted to get you on this last point. Do you worry at all? We saw the firebombing of the pro-life group in Wisconsin that said if abortions aren't safe, you aren't safe either. This continual threat of violence. Does that worry you? Is that's going to continue over the summer, which will further make Democrats' lives difficult on an issue that they think is really important?
I think that it's abhorrent, Leland, and I'll tell you why. Because the history of violence has traditionally been a feature of the pro-life movement. It has been bombings of clinics, have been regular murders of abortion doctors. George Tiller was murdered in 2009 with a gun point blank while in church. This is Dr. George Tiller of Wichita, Kansas. As late as 2021, we saw a Molotov cocktail thrown into clinics. We know that clinics have steel doors and bulletproof vests, and we have staffs that are threatened on the daily. Do I want to see anyone on the left go to those tactics? Absolutely not, because we've learned the hard lesson from the opposition, spending decades doing this to threaten and intimidate those who would perform abortions and those who would seek them. So I think that Molotov cocktail is troubling, and we need to have peaceful protest and no violence.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point in terms of how it's now flipping around, because for so long the peaceful pro-life...
I don't think it is, though. You can't take one Molotov cocktail and say that that's the same thing as 26 attempted murders and 11 murders. I don't think you can change.
Well,
I just want to make sure we don't do false equivalency.
It has to start with one, but your point's well made. Laura, good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.